last thing we need to look at when addressing social movements is who exactly is in the social movement and how do they become successful. So using your selected case study of a social movement, you're going to talk about the membership levels. And so I'll briefly explain what exactly that is, and then how do these membership levels lead to the eventual success or failure of the social movement. Right, so in order for a social movement to work, we've got 3 different levels of membership. The inner core is the most important. Right, they're the main leadership group of the social movement. They come up with the decisions, they decide on the path that we're going to take, and so they basically dictate the social movement and how they're going to try and achieve the goals. Are we going to do peaceful protests or are we going to use violent means? Is this going to be an attempt to get an elected official to change the policies of the country, of world societies, or is it more grassroots where we're reaching out to the individual people of the population and trying to get them to agree with our changes that are being taken place? So we need a good inner core to kind of make up the decisions and the policies that the social movement is going to follow. Right? In order for it to be successful, you also need committed individuals. So the committed, those are the active individuals that do all the grunt work. They will show up to the activities, they will make sure that the work gets done. You can rely on these people. So if there is a rally that we're going to be hosting, your committed individuals will be there to help you set up the chairs, and they'll make the posters and decorate the halls. They'll come up with the designs for the shirt and purchase them and print them and sell them at the rally. If we're trying to get a political candidate elected, our committed will make all of the phone calls to the House to check in with voters. They'll do door-to-door literature drops where they bring pamphlets and talk with voters at their homes or leave information behind so people can see it. Right, so it's a way of trying to get the work done. Our committed individuals, you can rely on them. They aren't making the decisions, but they're carrying out the plans. Our less committed, they're in the movement, but not really. These are people you can't really rely on to be there for all the day-to-day work of the movement. If we're doing door-to-door literature drops, but it's raining, you can guarantee my less committed individuals aren't going to show up because that's inconvenient for them. If we were going to think about the clubs that could counsel, right, the less committed are the people who say that they're in the club, but only show up on the days where there's food being offered or if it's the yearbook photo. Right, so we have these different membership levels, and these people within the social movement will hopefully lead to it being successful. If we were going to talk about outside of the social movement, all right, what the social movement is trying to do is appeal to the public. These are people that aren't in the movement, so they're not doing the work, but we want them to be in favor of our policies. We want them to be in favor of the goals of the movement, so we do a lot of things to appeal to the public and make them happy. The sympathetic public are people who agree with the social movement. All right, they're not in the movement, they're not working towards the cause, but they might show up to the rallies to listen to the speeches. They might read the literature that we drop off. They might show up to the marches that are being organized by the social movement. Right, so these sympathetic public, they kind of agree with the policies and the goals of the social movement. So what the inner core tries to do is appeal to that sympathetic public by making policies that they believe that the sympathetic public will agree with, or trying to keep those people happy. And hopefully, if we get the sympathetic public on board, they may eventually join the social movement, and then our social movement grows and it can become more successful. We want to make the hostile public very, very small. These are people who are against the goals of the social movement. They don't like the policies, or they don't like the goal of what the social movement is working for. This would be where our agent provocateurs are coming from. They are against the social movement and they want that social movement to fall. And so with these policies, the hostile public will actually try to sway the sympathetic public to join them. We might have opposing political candidates, one social movement against the other, that will exist in these hostile public realms, and they're both trying to sway and pull the sympathetic public towards their side. Right? The last one that doesn't really exist, but there's also an unaware public. They either have no idea what's happening or they don't care about what's happening. Right? So the unaware public, they don't really participate in either side of this. Where the hostile public is making set actions specifically to tear down the social movement, the unaware public isn't doing anything. Right? So, for example, who participated in Earth Hour? Does anyone know what Earth Hour is? All right, Earth Hour is every single year on Earth Day. There is 1 hour where everyone in the entire world is supposed to turn off all electricity and stop using it. The hour changes every single year. I think last year for the United States it was 4 a.m. on the East Coast where we had to turn off everything. So you might have done this without even being aware that you did this. Right? So if you had no idea what Earth Hour was, you're probably in that unaware public. And now that I told you, and you still don't care, you're still part of the unaware public because you don't care one way or the other about the policies of that social movement. All right, so go through, take a look at these levels within your social movement and identify who these different people are.